This video is also a thanks for 500 plus subscribers on YouTube. If you go to folio.procreate.art under resources, or simply by using the search function to search for Pablo Peruzzi's symbol brush pack, you can get a very good pack of free brushes for Procreate that includes this sketch brush. I use another brush from that pack later in this video. I use various layers, layer modes, Gaussian blur, and the smudge brush, but I use the smudge brush set to the same brush. You can adjust brush size and opacity and get quite a bit of differences even with the exact same brush. I'm using composition guides here, just stamps of different composition ideas to try to get things to go in an interesting way, which I'm not including as against the one brush challenge. The painting itself is done completely with one brush. Here I made the layer with the sketch invisible so it wouldn't get in the way of me focusing on painting the background, which is a good tip when you're trying to focus on a thing. Use digital art's tools and layers to your advantage. I also gathered and used many references to help with this, including an old, accurate toy of a Parasaurolophus to see it in three-dimensional space. I also looked up reference and did research of different saddles and tack, and I used my VizRef app on the side while using split screen function on my iPad Pro in order to look at different references of Parasaurolophus and backgrounds that were similar to the one I was working with. I didn't work in a vacuum, but I made the references work for me. The design itself was more of an original creation. I didn't copy things from the references to the detriment of my original design, but the other way around. Here I'm doing a cleaner line art on a layer above. I lowered the opacity on the sketch layer so it will be less distracting. I'm going in on its own layer to work on some of the highlighting. You can do things in different orders based on your mood. You don't always have to work the same way. I did a hard light layer with a Gaussian blur for some of the glowing highlights. I used multiply layer mode for the shadows. There's actually no midtone immediately, but it works rather well. You can jump around different aspects of the painting, going back and forth based on your mood. You don't have to do all of one thing or another. If you feel like jumping around, you can do that. Just make sure to double check that you're on the correct layer. The subject of this painting is a Meafari felinis, a type of magical shape-shifting cat person around the same size as a human that I made up a long time ago. I made her mount a Parasaurolophus, which is one of my favorite dinosaurs, and I thought it would make sense and be fun to have her have a long lance. Meafari are stronger than humans as they have compact muscles and are able to shapeshift partially or completely in order to do lots of different things. I adjust things as I go along. You can make the head smaller or larger, adjust the positioning of things, use your digital tools to your advantage. This is still only created with one brush, originally intended for sketching, but you can do a whole artwork with it. It's a little soft and it has the ability to smudge a bit, but it's also a little harsh in a sense. I really do enjoy this Pablo Peruzzi sketch brush. It has quickly become one of my very favorite brushes I've ever used in Procreate, and I use it for more than just sketching. Sometimes it's nice that it adds a bit of texture, and you can use it to paint different materials and things in paintings. You could also, of course, make a whole painting with just the sketch brush, like I did here, while using the other digital tools to fill in the gaps that come from not using a variety of brushes to get different effects. Let me know what you think in the comments section below, as well as if you would like to know more and see more art about the Meafari felinis people. I think it's also nice the brush can apply scales. This brush is the Psy Brush Line Art and Shading, a free Procreate brush I downloaded a very long time ago. I hope it's still available on the Procreate forums, and it's very useful. It's a sort of soft, hard, round brush in a way, but you can use it for a whole painting. Though it can't get too large in size, I was still able to fill in the whole background on this. I am using different layers. I used a far background layer, a separate layer for stars, and I work out things with a sketch and different layers for the bird itself. This artwork doesn't fit the screen perfectly because it was actually done at printer paper size. I intend to print this and use this as a calendar artwork piece because I'm doing artworks for every month, and this one is for January 2021. I intend to print it as soon as possible and put it up on my wall for the calendar. So I also designed this painting with the theme of looking forward to the rebirth of the new year. I have different magical creatures and concepts assigned to each month, and January is my month of the Phoenix. I made that up back in 2004, and I've been doing it every year. It was in 2020 that I didn't properly do a full calendar, and it felt really sad that I never did, so I've decided I'm definitely going to do calendar pieces for this year. This brush is really versatile. By using separate layers and Gaussian blur, I'm working out how I can do fire with it. But as you can see, I do lots of experiments until I'm actually happy with the result. What I ended up doing is different Gaussian blurs and blending with the smudge brush, and I did different layers set to different light modes in order to get the different glow effects and the different fieriness until I was actually more happy with it. I'm also going to go back in and add more effects in the sky and stars, and I do a lot of experiments with different cloud and nebula options behind the bird itself. I also do some erasing in with the fire here to cut out some shapes so that I find it more pleasing in a compositional manner. This one took a lot of fiddling, experimenting, and doing more and more painting until I was actually finally happy with it. There are places here where I turn the layers off in order to see behind it and do different things. Here's where I'm putting some of the bright yellow highlights in, which I find makes the bird itself, the phoenix, look much more appealing, and it seems to bring the painting much more to life. This is the stage where I start actually liking this painting, as opposed to feeling like it's not doing that well. I do a lot of experimenting with these different clouds, as I said. I even brought in some composition tools and tried to go with the triangular formation until I came up with this more abstract sky that I'm actually very happy with. In the final version, I think the contrast between the purple and the fire colors of the bird itself is very pleasing. Let's all hope 2021 is hopeful rebirth like this phoenix represents. The basic HRB Pablo Peruzzi brush is from the same brush pack as the first brush. It's a basic hard round brush. It's extremely versatile, and you can definitely do an entire painting with just this brush. I often prefer to use multiple brushes to get different effects in, but I have to say the basic HRB or hard round brush is an exceptionally useful and versatile brush to have. The version here is the Pablo Peruzzi version, and I find it really great. It's very responsive to pressure sensitivity, and I also find by adjusting size and opacity, I can get many things in. I'm using my gold color palette I previously created that I use in a lot of artworks in order to paint this more golden dragon. I'm eventually going to tinker with the background, but right now I'm focusing in on a few things. I actually did the belly scales, eye, and wing membranes on their own layer above, whereas the base gold is on its own layer. I could have done the highlights on their own layer, but I decided to just do them right on the base color. I also used alpha locking and no separate color modes. This entire painting was all done in normal mode, so there was no specialty layers like multiply or hard light used, only normal layer modes. However, I used selection tools and alpha lock to make sure I didn't go outside of certain areas or selected regions to help me, so digital tools are still helpful. Before I did the painting of this dragon, I actually did a bunch of research and referencing of different dragons, and I did a sketch in my sketchbook to help design the anatomy for this dragon in preparation before doing the final artwork piece. I decided I wanted to zoom in so I could get more details in the picture rather than showing all of the body. I also decided I wanted the background to be much more blurry and experimental and not detailed so that all the detail could be on the dragon itself. Focusing on the three-dimensional form and metallic of the gold, I then worked in some scales. I didn't want it to be a plain golden dragon. I lowered the opacity of the scale layer slightly so that there'd be a slight transparency to it, though it's still on normal mode. When I was happy with all the details, I added a little bit more depth to the shading. In the end, I'm actually quite happy with this piece. The focus is entirely on the dragon itself, and I hope you enjoyed this video very much. Once again, that's all for this video. If you like my videos, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell to all notifications so you will know when a new video comes up. I aim for new videos every Wednesday, but sometimes life happens and things are delayed. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you with another one very soon.